The Justice Department saying, nope, we're not going to hand over top secret documents found at Joe Biden's home and office, telling Congress to be patient because handing over the documents could interfere with their investigation. What's funny and ironic here is that members of Congress, ultimately given access to view these documents, would have to do so in one of those secure SCIFs where these documents were basically stolen out of at some point in time. Joining us now for more, former acting U.S. Attorney General Matthew Whitaker. Mr. Attorney General, it's great to see you again. Is this normal, or do you think this could be the DOJ now stonewalling James Comer, stonewalling Jim Jordan in Congress deliberately because they might have information in these documents that could hurt the president?
I think that's exactly what it looks like. I mean, I don't think anybody believes that this Department of Justice is going to indict Joe Biden. In fact, they can't indict Joe Biden because he's a sitting president, and DOJ has a very solid policy on that. You know, this is a process called accommodation, and the balance in this whole situation is that Congress has a legitimate legislative purpose, and that is to work on legislation that they can craft to make sure that future administrations don't have presidents and vice presidents go home with classified information. And so this is a very legitimate request by the Congress. Obviously, it would be protected as classified if it's still classified and put into a SCIF where it could be reviewed. But I think, DOJ is stonewalling, to your point, and, they're going to have to work this out. But ultimately, if I was in the Congress, I think I'd start issuing some subpoenas.
Yeah, that was my next question. So basically, if the DOJ is running a high-level investigation and somebody with the proper clearances, like maybe the House Oversight Chair, somebody like James Comer requested access to these documents, wouldn't the DOJ normally comply with that, knowing that this person, James Comer, for example, has clearance?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And, again, they're gonna have to work this out. This is one of the beauties of our Constitution, is our founding fathers gave no branch more power than the others. And so while the DOJ can say we have an active investigation and we're not going to share our investigative file, that's a very small subset of information. And in this case, because of the equally legitimate congressional power of not only funding the government, but in creating legislation to address this issue, if there's gaps in what has previously been available, then that is an equally legitimate issue. And just because DOJ found this information first, Rob, I think it's got to be worked out.
Good point. Okay, a couple of sound bites I want to get to. Oversight Committee Chair Comer spoke at the National Press Club questioning why China is suddenly spending so much money on Joe Biden's private offices. Take a listen.
It's impeachable if he was using those documents in a way to profit for his family, which there's no evidence that happened. But that's something that I think needs to be looked into. The reason that I'm concerned about the Biden documents is because there's some reason that China's donated so much money to the different Biden interests. I don't think they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart.
Do you think we'll get an answer to that question through this investigation?
Well, this is the best vehicle to get that answer. I mean, there's been a lot of smoke around the China-Biden connection. Obviously, the funding of the University of Pennsylvania and the Biden Center is at the heart of this. And in addition to Hunter Biden's relationship with China, and so I think these are exactly why you have oversight, and this is exactly why you try to figure it out. I was glad to see the chairman didn't front run the issue and suggest that there was something he hasn't seen yet, but they're going to ask all the right questions and get all the right information in front of them.
Okay, maybe at the very least, Joe Biden has been absent-minded at times over the last 2 years, all right, putting it delicately. Yesterday, he was asked reporters at the White House about the special counsel that is investigating him, and here's how he responded.
Special counsel who started this week asked for your testimony. Would you give testimony?
Oh, I don't even know about this testimony.
Okay, so he was asked if he would give testimony to the special counsel if requested. Honestly, Matt, his response looked like he didn't even know what the reporter was talking about. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I think he has been instructed not to say anything, and it's hard for him to follow that advice and counsel. Right. We faced the same issue at the Department of Justice when I was there on whether you interview the president that's the subject of a special counsel investigation. Obviously, it's a Pandora's box of decisions, and I don't think ultimately, based on everything we know right now, that they're going to try to interview Joe Biden, but his answer should be absolutely. I have nothing to hide.
Yeah, that's what I expected too. Matthew Whitaker, great having you back on. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Rob. Good to see you.
You too.